Councillor Burns, if you could unmute yourself.
Good evening, councillors and staff. I hope everyone is well and safe. Thank you for all those who could attend this meeting tonight. Just to let people know who are listening tonight, I'm dyslexic, so if people struggle to hear me, I'm sorry. Firstly, can I ask that we give a minute's silence for all the key workers, the emergency services who put themselves at risk for others, and the people we've lost to COVID-19. And finally, Jim Sharp recently passed away. He was a reporter for the local champion, and he reported a lot on Maghull Town Council. Jim was a good man. So can we start a minute's silence, please? Right, thank you. Right. Number one, apologies for absence.
Yes, Chair, we have apologies from Councillor Patrick McKinley.
Thank you. Number two, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest?
Don't appear to be any, Chair.
Thank you. Number three, public participation. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, public participation will be dealt with via the submission of the comments or questions to the council prior to the meeting commencing. Anyone wishing to submit a comment or a question to the council must do by 5 p.m. Friday, the 19th of June 2020.
Thank you, Chair. We have had a couple of issues raised. I'm currently sharing on my screen a map of the Old Hall playing fields, which has been submitted with a letter I'm just about to read out. This is from members of the football club, but it's also in conjunction with the cricket club. I'm writing this letter on behalf of the Maghull cricket and football clubs, plus the local neighbours who are suffering the consequences of the following: the upkeep of the bins on Old Hall Field across both the football pitch and the cricket club, as the current weather conditions means the bins are permanently overflowing come the weekend, as clearing them on a Tuesday does not suffice, as come Friday they are already overflowing and creates a mess like this weekend. With this comes another problem of the antisocial behaviour of groups of young people camping out and smoking, drug taking and alcohol drinking until early hours of the morning. One neighbour mentioned in passing that this last weekend they were drinking until 3 in the morning. As well as the above, one neighbour had a bottle of urine thrown at her house, and whilst on the pitch area, one gang decided to have a bottle fight and ended up throwing bottles across the stream into neighbouring gardens. And then to cap this all off, I was called out to the football pitch on Saturday night at midnight to stop a gang of people having a bonfire in the middle of the football pitch. Since then, I have found out that there are scorch marks also on the cricket pitch from barbecues, and even though we told people to stay off the pitch, there are now further fire marks on the surrounding areas of the pitch where further small fires have been made. What we need is some action from the council to try and stop this happening again, whether it be more frequent emptying of the bins or put up some clear notices to state that barbecues and fire making is not allowed. Can the police be actively involved in improving these problems, as I know they were called out 3 times over the weekend, but no one turned up. So even if the council security turned up and checked for anything, they would need police support as well. These improvements will stop the cricket and football club committee members and local dog walkers from clearing up the mess and damage daily. Plus, I think you would get the support from the local neighbours as well. There is also another big issue which we'd like to bring to your attention and ask for help with. We have a constant problem with motorbike and mopeds being ridden through the ground, damaging the pitches and causing a nuisance. Could we work together to come up with a possible solution? Maybe fitting anti-motorbike gates similar to the ones that are used along the canal towpaths or on the Cheshire Line's public footpath. We also think that more anti-motorbike gates should be fitted on the canal towpaths at the Canal Swing Bridge on Hall Lane and Northway Bridge at the entrance to Old Hall Playing Field. See map below with suggested location of gates. And that is the map that I've put up on the screen. Would I be able to attend the full council meeting on the 3rd of June? This was submitted in end of May, and address the council in person. I've heard you'll be setting up a video conference because you're unable to hold the meeting at the town hall. Both clubs look forward to working with you. Yours faithfully, Darren Pearce from the football club. So if I can just state before we do anything else, with relation to the bins, we've changed the day on which we empty the bins. And then if they are full during the week, we will come out and we'll empty them as well. There's little we can do if they're full on a Saturday and a Sunday, but we're trying to keep on top of it. And in fact, one week they were emptied 3 times. So that will be the way of dealing with that. Okay, I'll just go back to the Zoom so that I'll have to stop sharing the map, okay, to come back to it. I have passed on the letter to the police as well. I haven't had a response yet to deal with the antisocial behaviour, and I'll be sending a reminder to them tomorrow so that I can update you at the next meeting to see if they've got anything planned for the antisocial behaviour, because apparently the weather is improving towards the weekend and they might get antisocial behaviour again.
Thank you. Number 4.
Sorry,
No,
did anybody want to say anything?
Councillor Adam Lloyd.
What's the preference in putting some gates up or more protection on the field and along the canal?
What we've done is we've started looking for some costs for that to see how much it's going to be, because obviously we would have to come back to council and see how much funding we would actually have for it. It's difficult to say at the moment because there's an additional complication that, if you can remember from the map that I've just put up, I'll share the screen again. Where are you there? If you have a look at where the proposed motorcycle gates are, we don't actually own that land. So we would need to get into conversation with the Canal and Rivers Trust to see whether or not they would be prepared to allow us to do that, even if we did have money to do it. So that needs to be a conversation with them as well.
Was there any response from the police at all? Or?
No, I haven't had anything. That's what I'm saying. So I'm going to give them, since I've given them the letter, so I'm going to give them a prompt. Councillor Ken Hughes.
Surely when things get back to normal, there will be people at the football and cricket club on a night time. So surely the antisocial behaviour will stop then. Is this true? Does people agree with me?
I don't know, Councillor Carlson, if you want to unmute yourself.
No.
No. Trying to. There we go, Chris.
Sorry about that. I would agree with Councillor Hughes. I think we're in a very strange set of circumstances. Good weather, people with lots of time on their hands, and no security is the wrong word, but participants of both the football club and the cricket club. Normally, the training sessions for either one or whatever ongoing on the field. I have written to the Canal and Rivers Trust in the past with regards to gates on the canal for motorbike access. Unfortunately, they didn't reply, but there have been gates along the canal, right along Maghull, and they've been vandalised or removed so that people can access and ride motorbikes along there. Very, very dangerous. I'm really disappointed in the police as well, lack of response there. Can we ask them why they didn't respond to these incidents?
Yeah, I will do.
That's me. I'm finished speaking.
I still think that site's still going to have the antisocial behaviour because they don't train at 3 and 4 in the morning at the cricket club or the football club. It's not so bad in the daytime. It's more of the evening time. So
do we get this every year? This
yeah, not so much the barbecues, but there is an issue. This is heightened this year, but they do get it on a regular basis, especially the motorbikes and the mopeds.
Is there any? Oh, Councillor Sayers, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Angela. I think there's a couple of issues there. Looking at that map and knowing the location, there's no way we can secure our parks by putting gates on the parks. The gates have got to be on the canal itself. I think it was Councillor Carlson. He's quite right that there are gates in situ. There's one just past the railway bridge.
Got the black lines.
But it's been broken. And I think that often happens is they'll cut the padlocks off, etc. I wonder whether we could write a formal letter to the Canals and Rivers Trust and ask them to reinstate the gates. I don't see why we should pay for them. You know, I know the Canals and Rivers Trust are getting some money from Section 106 up at Lydiate for the Turnbridge site. But, you know, I don't see a lot for our money really. And I think our first protocol should be to ask them to secure the canal path because it is dangerous. I mean, we've had kids riding up and down there at very fast speed. Obviously, a lot's been heightened because of the current circumstances where people aren't at school. They've got a lot of time on their hands. Ordinary pubs, etc., are closed. So hopefully some of that will abate. But the issues over the scrambler bikes, I think really we need to speak to the Canals and Rivers Trust. We can't fence the whole of the cricket pitch because you can access from the canal bank at about 7 or 8 points along that along the canal bank onto the cricket pitch itself. We've got the same problem at Pimbley and we've got the same problem at Old Hall Park. Just in relation to the litter bins, I know I've spoken to yourself and Alex about that and we've invested in new bins. I think we do need to have a review of the litter bins because some of the bins simply cannot cope with the footfall. And I don't know whether we need to look back and, you know, Sefton brought in some of the super bins for certain, not for every location, because most of the bins do cope, but there are certain places where they just can't cope with footfall, even for the entire week. And then when you have them in places where they tend to have barbecues, which is like the cricket pitch, you only need 2 or 3 people trying to be responsible, bag up their rubbish. They put it in the litter bin. Well, it's a litter bin, not a refuse bin. And so 2 bags of barbecue, foodstuffs, etc., the bin's full. And then on top of that, you've got the normal usage. So I think we need to have another look, almost like a litter bin review, to see what we've got where. And the first protocol could obviously be the lads and girls who have to empty them, because that's a horrible task when the bins are overflowing. They'll know which ones cope, which ones don't cope. Thanks.
So I still think we can put some kind of gate or look at putting some kind of anti-motorbike gate at the entrance of Maghull, at the whole Old Hall field.
Yeah, you could do it on Tommy Gent. You could do it at Tommy Gent Way.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
But if you look at the canal bank, you know, there's about 7 or 8 points of access off the canal bank onto the cricket pitch, and that's where they're gaining access. They're not coming through Tommy Gent Way.
No, they're not. They're coming through Tommy Gent Way, definitely. They come through Tommy Gent Way and straight across onto the pitches, go round a few times, and then off them down the canal, or they come down the canal and through Tommy Gent Way. That's the
well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I agree, block off Tommy Gent Way, but if you don't block off the canals, then you know it's a pointless exercise.
But if we can control that point, surely we can do something there, and then tackle the issue with the waterways and see if they're prepared to put some gates up. I don't think
the gates are there. They just need.
No, there's no gates at the Old Hall, at the top of Old Hall Lane on the access to the canal, and there isn't any further down.
The remnants are there, and at the far end, by the railway bridge, the one there just swings open because it's being cut to make.
If you travel down Hall Lane and you take a left at the swing bridge, there is no gate there at all. There is
No,
one
the
on the
gate's been
right-hand side.
removed, but the remnants of the gate are still there. There was a gate, and it's been vandalised and removed. Anyway, it's a pointless argument. The fact is, if you don't block off the canal bridge, whether there's gates there, where there or aren't there, if you don't block it off, it's pointless blocking Tommy Gent Way because they'll just come in off the canal. So my original point, I think, still stands. We need to write to the Canals and Rivers Trust and insist that they do something about the canal bank, because the canal itself is not safe and obviously vandalised.
So the stance is straight away now that we're not going to do anything at all unless we can get something done to the waterways.
Well, we just said we're going to write to the Canal and Rivers Trust.
How would you block off the canal?
No, so
how would you block off
we write to the waterways and see if we can put 2 gates up. One at the where the diagrams were explaining, where the red marks were.
Yeah.
And then one at Tommy Gent Way, regardless.
Well, we'll do Tommy Gent. Tommy Gent Way is ours, isn't it, Angela?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tommy Gent Way is for us, but the canal, if we don't, the canal needs doing as well.
It does, yeah. Both of them need doing.
Yay! Can I just mention one thing, is that this is public participation. Sorry, I hadn't unmuted myself there. Can I just point out that this is public participation and really you can't make any decisions within this. What we will do is we will go away and we will have a look at how much gates are going to cost for Tommy Gent Way, and really how much more the gate there is a barrier as opposed to a gate, about how much that's going to cost, bearing in mind that you do have budget on the agenda. And then we will make some tentative inquiries with the Canal and Rivers Trust to see if there is any particular reason why they have removed the gates, and then we will report back to the next meeting at council, and then you can make a decision about whether or not you want to go forward with gates, where the money's going to come from for the gates, and what the Canal and Rivers Trust has said. Is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, lovely. We do have another item on public participation, which relates to the Black Lives Matter. We've received 2 emails regarding it, so I'm going to read out both. I'm writing to you about the current Black Lives Matter movement and how we're going to tackle the racism in our community. I've lived in Maghull my entire life, and growing up, I was never really exposed to a very diverse community. I understand this is out of a lot of people's control, as they have no control over who lives in their community. However, I also realised throughout my education in Maghull schools and growing up in the community, my understanding of BAME people's experiences and culture was very limited. I think with this being a pivotal moment in history, it is important to make sure that Maghull and its majority white community are well educated and making changes to provide children and people of all ages with more knowledge of the experiences and cultures of the BAME communities. I've seen some displays of racism in the Maghull community page on Facebook recently, and it would be a large help if the council or the mayor himself distribute some resources for people to look into in order to educate our community. I just want to know the council's take on this issue and what we're going to do to better our community. And then the second email says, I'm writing to you about the current Black Lives Matter movement and how we are going to tackle the racism in our community. I have lived in Maghull my entire life, and growing up, I was never really exposed to a very diverse community, which I understand this is out a lot of people's control who lives in their community. However, I also realised throughout my education in Maghull schools and growing up in the community, my understanding of BAME people's experiences and culture is very limited. I think with this being a pivotal moment in history, it is important to make sure that Maghull and its majority white community are well educated and making changes to provide children and people of all ages with a more knowledge of the experience and cultures of the BAME communities. I just want to know the council's take on this issue and what we're going to do to better our community.
Sounds like exactly the same letter.
It is. It's a slightly different one, but we did get 2.
Ah, right.
Angela.
Hello.
Hi, Sean.
Sorry.
I'm aware of the recent racist issues on the Maghull page. One of the problems is that it's administered by people who are not considered the council, obviously. I think what our education should be is to advise people in Maghull the best way we can, if they do see anything, to immediately complain to whoever the administrator is and get them removed. Because the last comment I saw was removed very quickly. One of our Chinese friends complaining that it was removed within minutes. So I think our education needs to be how people deal with these things when they see it.
Okay. It's public participation. So if you want me to put out a statement, I can draft one and circulate it offline and make sure everybody's happy with it. And then we can put it on our website and out on our social media. I can do that because I understand that we appreciate ethnic diversity and we encourage, people to learn about other cultures, other beliefs, etc. It's just that it's quite difficult in Maghull.
Yeah,
with a huge range of diversity.
I think people don't always know how to complain to these sites. I think that's the important thing. We should make a statement, also say, if you do something which you find offensive or racist, these are the steps you take. Ask for it to be taken down, for example. It's just, and then we're just educating people how to deal with it. And people just don't know.
Yeah, Councillor Desmond.
Yeah, I'm actually one of the moderators on the site. I have actually raised concerns about it, but if people carry on raising it, so I'm not just the only admin on the site. So if people keep raising the concerns, I can certainly take it back that it's been discussed at the council.
Right. Okay. I'm quite happy to do that. We are Stop the Hate post here. It's just that with the town hall not being open, it's not easy for people to put that forward to us. And I appreciate with moderators on what is essentially a community page, you may not spot every post, and it is up to people to say, excuse me, I find this offensive. Can you do something about it?
There are numerous moderators involved, so
yeah,
it kind of helps. I've been making the argument, so anything helps really.
Okay, Councillor Tom Hughes.
This is just really a question to Councillor Desmond. I'm not on the Maghull community page, you see, so I was just wondering if any, statement or message of solidarity has been made to the BMA community on the page by any of the moderators.
Not really. We've put out, or I have certainly put out statements, certainly in the last few weeks, sort of like asking people to just think about what they're posting on there. That isn't specifically about the BMA issue,
right?
As I say, it's not affiliated to the council. I'm not a moderator, in capacity as a councillor, but I can raise the issue with the other moderators. It's come up at town council.
Right. Okay. I'm happy to do what I've suggested if you're all good with that suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll draw something up and we'll circulate it offline, and then if we're all okay with it, we'll put it on our website and on our social media feeds. Okay.
Yep.
To confirm the minutes of full council held on the 29th of January 2020, pages 1 to 5. Can you confirm them?
I'd just like to raise something.
Lloyd?
Can I raise something?
Only on accuracy.
Yeah, I don't think one of on page 2, when it's been noted that Councillor McKinley reminded Councillor Lloyd of the issues raised about the council finances. I don't see my reply there. Page 2.
No, there is no reply noted there.
How come?
The minutes are prepared. There's no particular reason why it was missed off.
Can we note my reply?
We would have to do it as an amendment and bring it back.
Yep.
To make sure it wasn't accurate.
Yep. I'd like to make sure my response is noted.
Right. Okay. If everybody else is happy with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. for accuracy. Yeah, okay. We'll prepare a set of minutes with that amendment and then ask you to sign them, Councillor Burns.
Right, very well,
Okay.
yeah. Are there any other issues to be raised?
On matters of accuracy.
No.
No, is everybody happy with those minutes then if that amendment is made?
How do you want
Lovely.
how do you want them raised? Do you want me to send an email or tell you what they are now?
It will actually be for the minute taker to look back through their notes and add it.
Okay.
All right.
Number 4.
5.
Sorry. COVID-19 report. Members are asked to consider the report of the council position during COVID-19 pandemic, pages 6 to 15.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. This tells you the current position, albeit it was a report that was done in May for an early June meeting, but essentially it tells you how your staff have come back to work, the procedures that we've put in place to ensure that they were able to return to work safely. I think you'll notice there's been an improvement in the parks because the grounds maintenance team have been out and they've been able to recommence the mowing, the strimming and the litter picking. So they are looking a lot better than they were. And we are seeing a noticeable improvement in the number of people that are back using the parks. The report is really for noting only, unless there is any particular question that anybody wants to raise or any issue that they would like to raise. Lovely.
Angela.
Councillor Desmond.
Just a message from Tony Carr. He's lost the link for.
He's next to you on the screen. He's currently in Alcatraz with the thing from San Francisco.
At the moment, I'm on my
All
phone.
right.
I'm on my phone, but I'm trying to join from my computer.
Right.
So you'll probably have another request in front of you for me to join.
Right. Actually, you're waiting, so I'm going to admit you. So you may be on here twice.
So I can dismiss this one.
Wait until we get you connected. All right, and then disconnect your phone. Okay.
Leave it on my phone.
So he's here twice, Councillor Desmond. He's not just here once, he's here twice. Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Angela. Just could you pass on my thanks to the staff of Maghull Town Council for all their efforts in helping with the people who carried out shopping and other activities for elderly and vulnerable people.
That's lovely. Thank you, Councillor
really
Carlson.
Well done for everyone there.
Thank you. I know it's very much appreciated.
Number 6, Local Government Act 1972, Section 85, attendance at the meeting, COVID-19 arrangements. Members are asked to consider the report, pages 16 to 18.
Okay, it is pretty much as it explains it in the report. That is a blanket Section 85 arrangement, so that if members are not able to attend meetings, they have had prior approval by council to miss those meetings and therefore avoid not attending a meeting for 6 months and thereby ceasing to be a councillor. We had to do it anyway for Councillor McKinley, who just won't be ready to come back until the autumn. But we have done it as a blanket one for everybody in case the technology fails. As you know, we're holding remote meetings for the foreseeable future, and there is always a possibility that somebody's technology or internet would go down, and therefore you might miss a meeting. So therefore we've done this blanket Section 85. As you can see, there were a couple of your colleagues missing and they would be in danger. So if you could approve it, I would be grateful.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Lovely, thank you very much.
Chris's thumbs up there.
See, the technology works. There we go. That's lovely. I'm getting feedback from somebody. You haven't, Tony, do you want to get rid of your phone connection? It could be yourself. Lovely, thank you. Yeah, that seems to be better. Item 7, Chair.
Committee places 2020 to 21. Members are asked to consider the report pages 19 to
21.
Yeah, it is there to 21.
Okay, the legislation has changed because of COVID-19 that basically says that you don't need to change your chairs or your mayor, and Councillor Josh Burns was happy to remain mayor and Councillor Sayers was happy to remain deputy mayor for this year, and then Councillor John Sayers would become mayor in 2021-22. There is an issue regarding personnel subcommittee which didn't meet last year, but it needs to meet this year because we have an issue with the vacancy and the fact that we're finding it very difficult to fill it. So I'd like to have a personnel subcommittee so you can agree some changes to the staffing review, which would enable us to make it more attractive to recruit. So the key part of this is that I need 5 members from finance and general purposes to volunteer. Which really needs ideally to be 4 members of the Labour group and 1 member from the Conservative group. So from the Conservative group, it is easier to say, would either Ken Hughes or Thomas Hughes?
Yes, we decide between ourselves that I'll be happy to do that.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Okay, and then from Councillors Carr, Josh Burns, John Sayers, Councillor McKinley is out for the minute, Carlson and Mullen. Can I have 4 of you to volunteer for the personnel subcommittee?
Yeah, I'll volunteer.
Right. I've got 2 there. If you would prefer from the Labour group to gift one of your seats to either Councillor Doherty, because he is currently on that committee, you would still meet the political balance requirements. But that's entirely if Councillor Doherty wants to be on the personnel subcommittee. If he doesn't, it is immaterial. But I've currently got Councillor Mullen and Councillor Josh Burns who have volunteered.
I'll do it, Hans, if no one else doesn't want to do it.
I know I will do training so you understand terms and conditions, but I appreciate Councillor Carlson, that might not be necessarily for you. We would be quorate if all 4 of you turned up, and I can run it as a vacancy if you would prefer. I'm running it as a vacancy then. So if you all right, but
Angela?
it does. Hello.
Hi, I would like to be involved if that's possible.
Are the Labour group happy to give up that spare seat?
I haven't got a problem with that.
Yes, I think so.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Very lucky, Councillor Doherty. You've now on personnel subcommittee. As I say, I will do a remote training session, which will go through the terms and conditions that the staff are employed under, and then we can move forward, all right. But we will be holding it sort of like early to mid-July. Okay, thank you very much for that.
Can I just confirm that it is Thomas Hughes, Josh Burns, Denise Mullen, Chris Carson and Sean Doherty?
Yeah, that's it, Stephanie. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. If you're happy for the recommendations, then that members agree to keep the same membership committees for the full municipal year. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Right.
The connection broke up then.
Right. Everybody agreed. The members agree the membership of the personnel subcommittee. We've just gone through that. Members agree to keep the same chairs of committee. Personnel subcommittee will vote in a chair when they meet. And that members agree to keep the same representatives on outside bodies. I haven't been notified of any outside bodies meetings, but they will happen at some point in the municipal year, I'm sure. So are you happy to keep those same representatives?
Agreed.
Lovely, thank you. And that the report be noted. Lovely, thank you.
Item number 8, budget report. Members are asked to consider the revised budget for 2020 to 21, pages 22 to 29.
Okay, unless anybody has any questions, I'll just very briefly go through it. You will recall at our meeting on the 29th of January that we set a budget for the financial year April 2020 to March 2021. And that set out exactly where you were going to spend your money on what projects. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has come along and wrecked it. So what's going to happen now is that we have redone those budget nominal codes and stripped everything out that we don't have to do. Some of it was events based and we're not having any events, so that's where it's gone. We have lost so far in that budget £32,503, which is a 4.4% drop. If you think about it, you only increase the precept by 5%. So actually, you're only getting 0.6% of any money that you've got coming in. The increase that you voted for and that you debated very hard at the meeting on the 29th of January has been wiped out. The reason for that is that we have not asked for rent from people who are our tenants, apart from Merseyside Police, the ATC, whose funds come from the MOD, and Melling Parish Council, which is a precept paying council, and their preceptors come in. So that's how we've come. We've lost 32,000. We have, of course, had additional expenses because of COVID-19. We've had to do additional work so that we can socially distance. So we've had additional Ethernet points put in the council chamber. We've also had to buy masks, visors, hand sanitizer, etc., etc., etc. The recommendation from your officers is that you cannot ask your tenants for money that they do not have. If they are not working and if they are not running functions and they are not meeting, they are not getting in the money to pay their rent. Therefore, the recommendation of your officers is you do not ask your community and commercial tenants for rent at this time. And that will include the cricket club, the tennis club, which is in a slightly different position, the venue, Tony Simon's the licensee at the venue, and Scrummies, who rent out part of the bowling hut. They are not working, they are not getting money in, they cannot give us what they do not have. So therefore, I'd ask that you agree the budget that has been set out before us and rely on the reserves that we have built up to make up any shortfall. That is truly what reserves are for. Nobody could have anticipated that COVID-19 was coming when we set the budget back in the 29th of January. It has hit us. It has hit us hard. Councillor Mullen.
Angela, can you just explain why we can't get grants from the government?
Yeah, I've had a look at the grant situation. There's some elements whereby you needed to be the business rate payer, and you needed to be the business rate payer on the 10th of March. However, the additional thing on it was that if you were a precepting authority and your precept was coming in, you were encouraged not to go back to the taxpayer for additional funding when you already had that funding, and therefore precept paying authorities were not to get the money. Okay, we haven't furloughed staff. We've kept them on, and we are not able to make any staff redundant due to the fact that they were being paid by an external grant. We haven't got any projects where we employ people via a grant where you may have been able to furlough them, and then if it didn't happen, they may run the risk of being made redundant. Our staff are paid from the precept. The precept is still coming in. People are still paying it. And it's being passed on by Sefton on a monthly basis. We have the money to pay our staff.
Just say, Angela, that's we feel that's the right thing to do with the tenants, especially in this situation.
To be honest with you, I think it's the best that you can do as a town council in order to try and help them survive. Okay.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Right. I'm just, all these recommendations, it's like 1 to 4.
Yeah.
Are we agreeing to them all in one go or each individual? Just I'd like to speak on.
We would go through them individually so that you were happy with them.
Okay.
All right. So if you're happy, does anybody else wish to make a comment?
I just ask one quick question.
Yeah.
Just not gonna
Debbie's
go into
here. She can answer it. Yeah.
not going to go into the intricacies of it and ask loads of questions, don't worry. But when I went through the figures, I think for most of them are quite obvious why they're reduced, but there was quite a massive reduction. I can't remember the figure off the top of my head. There was quite a large reduction of a few thousand on mobile phones.
Was there?
But I might exaggerate the amount, but it was quite a lot.
Debbie, do you want to come in and answer that? Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah.
There we go.
Jonathan, Councillor Desmond, sorry. What we did was with the mobile phones, we actually have changed contractors. Knowsley, we've managed to get another contractor. So therefore, for example, in the facilities budget, that's why you've seen a large reduction.
Right,
so
okay.
originally a lot was put in the budget and the costs are a lot less. So what I've done when I've looked at the budget is obviously looked at what on the income side, for example, like outdoor bowls, unfortunately that season's virtually gone. So we're not going to get anything in for that. And also I then looked at any expenditure, looked at what we was paying out last year, if there was any increases or decreases. And one of them was the mobile phones, where we have had a reduction in the actual costs. So like on facilities budget, you're right, it was 1,000 and it's now down to 357. So I've basically cut as much as I can.
Yeah. Okay. As I was reading through it quickly, it kind of came up as one that seemed to have gone by quite a bit.
Yeah.
Councillor Tom Hughes.
Can I just ask a quick question about, it's on the second paragraph on page 24, just relating to the part-time assistant maintenance officer. It says that the council, it's cost the council £1,460.13 for the advertisement. I'm just wondering why that costs so high. Why?
Because we've gone out 3 times to try and fill it.
And it's just that one position.
That one position. So we're struggling to fill it, quite plainly. We've tried doing it online. That didn't work. We tried doing it in the Champion. Didn't work. And then we went even bigger. We went Liverpool Echo. I know, yeah, big money. And didn't work. So what you're being asked to do in that paragraph is agree the increase to make it into a full-time post. That is all you're doing on that, is agreeing the increase. The personnel subcommittee is the one who will make the decision about whether or not to actually make that post full-time.
Are we not getting any responses from it, or are they just not suitable, the people that are applying?
Both. We're not getting a lot of responses, and the ones that are responding aren't suitable. So, and there's also a fundamental lack of knowledge about what pro rata means. So the last time that we had somebody who was interested, we pointed out that it's a band D. So the start of a band D is approximately £19,000. And he thought that's what it was, but it's only 4 days. So it's a fifth off 19,000. And then he said, well, no, that's not enough for me. So having gone through all of the recruitment process and all the resources involved in it, he came, realised how much the pay was, despite in the interview process us emphasising how much it was, and gave backward. So we are struggling to fill that post. So we need to make sure there's at least a budget in it for full time.
Right. So you're trying to make it more attractive now.
Yes, essentially. Debbie?
Just I know what I needed to put in that cost for you to actually see. So as I'm just reiterating what Angela said, it was on Indeed twice. We did the Champion, the Echo. So advertising is very expensive. So we don't normally, obviously it was on our website as well, go to sort of the bigger papers, but we got sort of I won't say desperate, but we've got no choice. And the problem is it's supporting another colleague who does 3 days, and it is quite a mixture of a job, really, sort of mechanic work as well as going out in the parks and doing, you know, sort of making sure all that equipment, etc. And the post was only going to be 15,000 for sort of, is it 27 hours, Angela, was it? I think it's 27 hours.
It was 30 hours.
Yeah, 30 hours. So after all that, and that gentleman, you know, coming and not realising it was pro rata and it was only going to be approximately 15,000, he then gave back and said, so after all this time and officers' time, I think previously it was full time, but it was an apprentice who we made permanent. He left, and it's been, you know, we've tried and tried, and I think the only alternative now is to go back to full time.
Full time, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have to get in touch with that chap again and tell him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no chance. Right. Okay. If you didn't want to work for us.
All right. Thanks very much.
Right.
Can I just ask Debbie a question?
Yeah.
All it is obviously there's been a few cuts to the budget and that. I just want to know if some of the things in the budget will like go back up after COVID-19 or in the years to come. So like the hospitality's been cut and stuff like that. If you get what I mean, like.
I do. Yes, I
understand
do.
what I'm trying to say. Like, so will the budget ever go back up? If you get what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, next
just because of COVID-19.
It's just because of COVID-19, and in relation to this year, my colleagues will be told you're going to have to live within the budget. But next year, hopefully, the people that, I mean, for example, the venue that has been substantially cut because we know he's not going to have christenings, weddings. We're hoping next year. That's some of the main reasons why we've had to cut both income. It's just like if you're agreeing to it, like the room hire has been substantially. We know Jo, for example, who uses the activity room. She's not been having classes, and so the expenditures, well, we've had to cut. But next year, we're hoping next financial year that we will get back to, and as well as any other business, some, basically to what we was. Right. So that's the only reason why I've had to cut some of them.
The thing about it is, Councillor Burns, is that we come October, November, we will go back into our budget setting process. So you'll have to bear in mind that hopefully by then we will know what our tenants are able to do, because the budget is being reset in not getting any rent until December.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
We can't have our own events, so we can't raise our own money in that sense. I understand that.
Yeah, but next year it would back to normal. Whatever normal may be.
Right, Councillor Denise Mullen.
Just another question on that as well, because some of the meetings we've had with the community, we've agreed on some things to take money out of the community money, and we've agreed on it, and we've actually told a certain company like this, we should be going ahead with it. So what happens there? Do we have to inform them that it's not going ahead, or?
No, on that one, because I knew that we'd had a commitment before the end of the financial year that will go ahead. I know they will have to sort out sort of social distancing with the people, the group that they've targeted, but I made sure that was committed, and actually it's all been sorted out. So we're just really waiting now to sort of some of the lockdown easing, and then for Phil to sort of get that up and running again. So it's more, for example, on your budget, things like coming in was like the last year we had the circus, didn't we, and all stuff like that. And also you won't be able to do as many events, unfortunately. But though I do understand what you're saying, and that's already committed and sorted. There's no worry there.
I've spoken to the firm you're talking about, so we're going to have a conversation with them to rearrange. But the other thing is that the circus and the fair that were booked, they're both committed to coming back later in the year if they're permitted. So hopefully we can recoup some money there.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Councillor Ken Hughes.
I've just noticed here fleet repairs. Maybe this is a question for Alex. It's more than doubled in the year, hasn't it? Is this due to aging vehicles, or? Is he there with us?
I am, Councillor. Yes, it's a combination of things, really. Yeah, we did increase the fleet nominal code for repairs because we are having some issues with the vehicles, and I know that there was a commitment to replace the fleet, albeit I think there are a number of building blocks that we need to get in place first, like the procurement policy, etc. So, yeah, the short answer is that we have increased our acknowledgement that the fleet is aging and that we do need to repair it. I think, and I might be shooting myself in the foot here, but the good thing, I suppose, around COVID-19, and Debbie's mentioned about living in our means, I think it's putting us in a position where we have had to cut our cloth, really, and we've had to do that hard analysis about how we can live within our means. So certainly a lot of the nominal codes that I've got responsibility for have been cut, but I think it will be an accurate gauge, if you will, about what we actually need moving forward. I think we have probably put ourselves in a decent position insofar as last year we did undertake heavy investment in the service. So a lot of the equipment that we've got, brand new lawnmowers, brand new strimmers, brand new hedge cutters, for instance, it is brand spanking new. Indeed, the lads have put it on the vehicles this week. So I'm not expecting too many breakdowns of that. Obviously, I can't preempt that. But I think the nominal codes have been rejigged in recognition about where we think the pinch points will be. And hopefully, if we haven't got those pinch points in one area where we've had the investment, we can have a fallback position where we've had to plump up the nominal code in recognition that some of the fleet and some areas will need some investment in, certainly in the period that we're in now.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that, Alex. Thanks very much.
Councillor June Burns.
Yeah, can I speak now?
Yeah.
On the increased hours for the assistant, what is it? Assistant
maintenance engineer.
Yeah. Can I suggest we hold on that one until the COVID is over? It's just that I know that a lot of people are going to be, unfortunately, losing their jobs, or there will be people who have got their own little business and have found that at the moment it's not convenient for them to be going for interviews, or you've got vulnerable people who are isolating at the moment and won't want to go out to interviews, but are perfectly able to do that job, but at the moment would just struggle to get to an interview. So can we not hold off on that job, whether it's full-time or part-time? I just feel like we should hold off on interviewing whatsoever until the COVID's over, and then we can open it up to more people.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it would be difficult to interview. I know you can do it remotely, but that doesn't always suit the needs. And I think sometimes that you need to have that conversation with somebody face to face in order to see if they're going to be a fit with the team, because the team's working really well now. And we want to make sure that moving forward, we can ensure that the team continues to work well. Derek, as the maintenance engineer, will be working very closely with the assistant maintenance engineer. I would prefer it if Derek was in, not necessarily doing the interviewing, but having a conversation with whoever came in to interview, so that I knew that they were getting on well, because it is sometimes a two-man team that on some of the tasks. So no, we won't be going out to advert until COVID-19 is over.
Right, thank you. And also on number 3 for the tenants.
Number 4, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do agree. Well, we've got the tenants. We can't be looking for money when nobody's got any money. But I suppose it's a message really for Councillor Adam Lloyd, just for transparency, especially as we do our public participation, or anybody who's looking in at the moment. I think, an expression of declaration of interest should have been declared for that item, because obviously if you're a member of the cricket club, then it is a pecuniary interest when it comes to tenants' rents and things like that. So am I wrong in thinking that maybe just for transparency, it may have been good for Councillor Lloyd to declare that?
So I'm no longer on the committee or vice chairman of Maghull Cricket Club.
No, but you must pay subs. Do you pay subs to the cricket club?
We haven't played yet. So,
right, but would have your tenants' rent, the rent that you pay, surely your subs are dependent on how much or how little you pay. It depends on how much you're getting in, then your subs must be reliant on those those fees. And therefore, I just think for transparency, maybe we needed to declare that.
I don't see what the point is really. Anyone can be members of any clubs, can't they? Or you could use the football club or the tennis club. You know, if your children go to use the cricket club or the football club or the tennis club or the venue, would you declare an interest then to say, yeah, I go for a pint there? So
no, but it's different to go for a pint.
If I was on the committee and I was a vice chairman, then yes, I've declared my interest in the past. But there's been a change at Maghull Cricket Club, and I'm no longer the vice chairman or on that committee.
No, I
confirm that I informed you, Angela, that a while ago.
Yes, that change has been made to your register of interest.
Does that change a declaration of interest at all?
It does change a declaration of interest. Had you still been on the management committee, you would have been expected to declare it, and you would have ended up in the waiting room, as it is known.
Yes, which you,
and you wouldn't have been able to hear anything about the debate. What you've currently got is a personal interest, which neither stops you from taking part in the debate or voting on it. Because you can, it's a disclosable pecuniary interest that we are interested in. However, it may have been slightly wiser to have declared it before the meeting, and then we could have had the discussion during the declaration of interest part. And that goes for anybody that is in a similar position, because it's about perception with regard to these things and how it would be perceived by the man on the Clapham omnibus is always the example given about it. But certainly I would have to have given Councillor Lloyd advice before this item started if I thought there was an issue with his disclosing the interest.
Right, thank you.
All right. However, having said that, it is Councillor Lloyd's decision about whether or not he makes a declaration. It is always the councillor's responsibility to declare it if necessary. Can I call on Councillor Carr?
Yes, it might be an opportune moment for me to declare interest as a Melling Parish Councillor, as Melling Parish Council making moderate.
Yeah, but I have to say Melling Parish Council aren't getting a rebate. So, but yes, it's taken as a fair point. You have at least paid the bill, Councillor Carr, and we're very grateful for it. Bearing in mind we've lost 4.5% of our income. You know, the £300 you pay us is gratefully received.
Thank
you. So can I go back really to the recommendations that are with the report? If you look at recommendation 1, which is agree the revised budgets, if nobody else has any comments.
Agreed.
Agreed. Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. The agreement to, thank you, Councillor Sharp. The agreement to draw down from reserves to do the essential rewire for the town hall and associated buildings.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. Agree the financial adjustment. Don't forget, you're just giving the personnel subcommittee the opportunity to make it full-time if they so decide. Agree the financial adjustment to increase the hours from part-time to full-time for the assistant maintenance officer post.
Agreed.
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 Bearing in mind the proviso that Councillor June Burns was mentioning. And agree the way forward for the tenants. The recommendation is actually that you do not ask for rent for many of your tenants until January 2021. The budget goes up too.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. That's carried.
Item number 9. Financial regulations. Members were asked to improve the revised financial regulations, pages 30 to 47.
Thank you, Chair. The financial regulations are in front of you to finish off the process that we started to revise them. They have been to Finance and General Purposes in early February, who did the scrutiny for you of them and made minor recommendations to changes. Those changes have been made and now it is before you to approve them formally. There is some elements of delegation in there, but they sit comfortably within the scheme of delegation already agreed. Unless anybody has any questions about it.
Agreed.
Lovely.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Right, thank you very much.
Item number 10. MTC, or Maghull Town Council Sustainable Development Management Policy. Members are asked to improve the policy statement, pages 48-49.
Can I hand over to Councillor Carlson regarding this, please?
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Josh. Yeah, this is something we've been discussing with regards to our environmental impacts with regards to the provision of services. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm struggling for some reason.
Okay, now you got me?
Yeah.
Right. So this is to monitor and manage our use of resources, to set a baseline figure for our carbon emissions, and then to put action resources against that figure to reduce carbon emissions over time, in line with the net zero target from the government. So I'll be helping significantly in this. This is what I do for a living. And any volunteers or any interest would be greatly appreciated. But tonight we just need you to take a quick look at it and approve it.
Anybody got any questions? Would you like to agree it then in principle? Oh, sorry,
Agreed.
Councillor
I was just going to ask,
Hughes.
he said he was asking for help. What sort of help would he require?
We need.
Well done.
Right. What it's about is that we need to provide Councillor Carlson with details of our energy usage. So that means going back to our old bills and getting the meter readings and providing him with all of those details. And then we get a base year and then we move forward with it.
Right. Okay. That's it. Yeah. Thank you very much.
So the help and assistance would just be as and when it acquires. So for instance, Angela's got to rewire several buildings and change the lighting. So rather than change the lighting to heavy consuming, we'd increase the budget and install LED, which makes an economic saving over time, but also has an environmental positive impact in that it reduces carbon emissions. So we'd be looking at that throughout the way we spend our money and throughout the way we acquire our goods and services.
Okay. Lovely. Can I get an agreement on that then, please?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Agreed. Agreed.
Agreed.
Lovely.
Number 11. Landscaping of Bobby's Wood, Part A. Members are asked to consider the report, pages 50 to 65.
Okay, I will be passing over to Councillor Sharp in a minute, but please note that there will be no questions taken on this, just in case you stray into territory that is better dealt with in the closed element of the meeting. It is literally just so that members of the public will know roughly what it is that you're talking about. The reason that it is enclosed is because there is confidential, commercially confidential information contained within Part B.
Is that item 12 you mean, and rather than item 11?
No, it's item 11 because the planning application has been dealt with.
For the British Legion?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
We sent the letter off, if you remember.
Yes, yes. I just wondered why Frank was involved in that.
He's a secret developer.
Right,
Right. So he's not involved in that at all. He's involved in Bobby's Wood. So I would just ask you to note the contents of that report. And if you do have any questions, if you want to keep them until we discuss it in the closed section of the meeting.
Sorry, Angela, I'm a bit confused now. I understand item 12, pages 50 to 65, which is what you were talking about. I take it with item 11, are we jumping over that one, or do we need to mention it?
No, we're not jumping over it. A new agenda front sheet was sent out with no item relating to the planning application was sent out because I had dealt with it offline. In case people are interested, I have mentioned it previously in an internal meeting. What I did with the planning application relating to the former British Legion site is that rather than stating that we were for or against the application, we had identified certain issues that residents had brought to our attention, as well as issues that councillors have brought to our attention. And I wrote to the planning officer, Diane Humphreys, and I mentioned all of those issues and asked her to take them into consideration when making her decision. It will, of course, be going to planning committee anyway, and that won't be until July. So we will be able to keep an idea on what's happening with it. Some of the issues that I raised was the fact that it's a 4-storey building. So there was an issue about overshadowing maybe, and it would be unique within the area that it was proposed because there aren't any 4-storey buildings round and about there. The access to the site was tight on Liverpool Road South, heading up onto Red Lion Bridge, and that the access to the canal, that we required the trees to be saved if possible. There were those issues around it. Okay.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Angela. Obviously, being the borough councillor for that, and that's in my ward, the residents had approached me, so I'm grateful for the support of the town council and the support of the residents. Obviously, it will go to planning committee and be discussed there, but just to say that, you know, I'm grateful for the support the town council has shown to the residents of Park Ward. Thank you.
Okay. Item 11. Right. So can we just, can we just note the Bobby's Wood report?
Noted.
Noted.
Lovely, thank you.
Item 12.
Not yet.
Not yet. Exclusion of the press and public. That is in accordance with the section 100A4 of Local Government Act 1972. The press and public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they contain exempt information under paragraph 3 of part 1 and schedule 12A of the Act, and it would not, on the balance, be the public interest to disclose the reports.
Okay, could you pass that resolution, please?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Lovely. Could you stop the live streaming now, please? We'll just wait until we get confirmation that live stream